Food Through the Decades Part 2. Here I rounded up the standout dishes for every year from 1970 to the 1990s so that you can see what the best loved food, meal or drink was during the year you were born. From spaghetti bolognese to Pop-Tarts, this lovely lot are a real trip down memory lane. So which was your favourite and which ones have I forgotten to mention? 1970 spaghetti bolognese. Believe it or not, back in 1970, spaghetti bolognese was a pretty fashionable dish that would be served up at dinner parties up and down the country because of its fabulous fancy ingredients. Guests would often spend the evening working out how to get the slippery strands of spaghetti into their mouths or trying to avoid getting tomato sauce down their best dresses. 1971 banoffee pie. This sweet and sticky mass of bananas and toffee was said to have been invented by the Hungry Monk restaurant in Jevington in East Sussex in 1971 and was such a hit that the owners never took it off their menu. 1972 cheese and pineapple sticks. If there's a party food to sum up the 1970s, it's got to be cheese and pineapple sticks. The very height of sophistication, these little canapes would often be served stuck into an upside-down melon half to sort of resemble a hedgehog. 1973 chili con carne. Chili con carne might seem a little mundane these days, but in 1973 it first came onto the scene and made a big impact with Brits who were more used to spuds than spice. This classic combination of minced beef and kidney beans has been a treasured recipe ever since. 1974 smash. This powdered mashed potato mixture had its first big success thanks to its choice of advertising mascot, the Smash Martins, who helped shift packets of the stuff by the thousands. 1975 lemon meringue pie. Lemon meringue pie hit the foodie scene around 1975, with keen bakers turning their hand to this American-style classic in a bid to impress friends and family with their trendy know-how. And we've loved it as a nation ever since. There's something so alluring about the crisp top and the sharp filling. 1976 fondue. Fondue was a huge hit in 1976, and once we had a taste for things dipped in hot cheese, the idea spread like wildfire. This little number was a real dinner party showstopper at the time. 1977 quiche Lorraine. The cooks from 1977 have particular fondness for this French quiche recipe. Made with eggs, cheese and bacon, it was always going to be a winner. 1978 stuffed peppers. The stuffed pepper, a wonderfully exotic mix of either rice and herbs or beef mince and veg, all encompassed in a sweet pepper shell. This hollowed out delight found favour in 1978 when people were starting to look for more vegetarian recipes. 1979 profiteroles. Only a truly delicious dessert stands the test of time, with many falling by the wayside as our taste and preferences change. Profiteroles are one of those truly delicious desserts. Little puffs of light choux pastry filled with cream and topped with chocolate sauce captivated the hearts of our nation back in 1979 and have been held dear to all dessert lovers since. 1980 Viennetta. Viennetta was introduced in the early 1980s and was stockpiled in freezers all over Britain. The layers of chocolate that shattered in your mouth, hidden between layers of sweet bright white ice cream, was a familiar tea-time favourite for children of the 1980s. 1981 trifle. A British classic. The trifle had already been around for a while by the 1980s, but with the ever more exotic tin fruit available in 1981, this custard and cream top dessert was at the height of its popularity. 1982 vol-au-vents. Vol-au-vents were a huge hit back then. They were typically filled with creamy mushroom and chicken filling. They were considered the classiest canapé of the day. 1983 Chicken Kiev. Freezer food at its finest. The chicken Kiev became a main player for speedy suppers around 1983. Filled with deliciously rich garlic butter and coated in breadcrumbs, it's no wonder this 80s special has stuck around. 1984 Battenberg cake. Battenberg cake was apparently named in honour of the marriage of Princess Victoria, a granddaughter of Queen Victoria, to Prince Louis of Battenberg in 1884. However, by the time it trickled down from the tables of royal households to the masses, it was 1984. This year, everybody was serving this classic checkerboard cake at afternoon tea parties to impress family and friends. 1985 Garlic bread. We might think of garlic bread as a mainstay of British tables these days, but lots of garlic was a pretty new thing in 1985. Paired with melting butter and a crusty baguette, it was no wonder that this new age Italian side order proved very popular. 1986 Pizza. Following on from the Italian theme of 1985, 1986 saw the introduction of pizza, which has become one of our most treasured meals. The melting cheese and tomato combo of a pizza just made sense to our hearts and stomachs, and we haven't looked back since. 1987 Chicken satay. Chicken satay hit the scene in 1987 and was a standout recipe of the year, with everyone wanting to try this delicious recipe packed full of Asian flavours. 1988 Kiwi fruit. If the most exotic fruit you've had for your whole life was an orange, then you can imagine the hype surrounding the humble kiwi when it began being imported en masse during 1988. Piled on top of pavlovas or sliced onto tarts, the kiwi was a sure way to show friends and family you were a full-blown foodie. 1989 Vegetarian food. Vegetarian food was becoming more and more popular during the late 80s. This was propelled into popular culture by the release of Linda McCartney's first book called Linda McCartney's Home Cooking in 1989. Her book was so successful that a couple of years later she launched her vegetarian ready meal range, which proved popular too. 1990 Pop-Tarts. When the 90s hit, it was American junk food that was the order of the day again, except this time it was for breakfast food. Pop-Tarts had been available in the US during the 70s, but it wasn't until 20 years later that we got them in our supermarkets. The reaction? Kids absolutely loved them. We would love to hear from you. What is your favourite dish, and which ones have we forgotten to mention? Please do share your memories with us.